Welcome to the Disrupt Education Podcast. I am here with Jamison Merrick, who just graduated from Stagg High School, a student of mine, but I'm also a student of his. Jamison, how are you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Graduation just happened yesterday. Tell a little bit about who you are and what are your thoughts about the upcoming years after graduation?
Yeah, so I just graduated high school. I'm 17. I plan on going to college right after high school, attending Indiana State University. I want to do something like in business, and then I want to do something like broadcasting. Just because I really like sports and commentating and talking to people. I feel like that's some path I want to go down. I love my family, and I love hanging out with friends and having a good time.
I know that because in class, man, we had some friends in class and such, and
Oh, we did.
I think it's really interesting about sports and actually trying to find your way with that. Not a lot of students would do what you did actually, along with another colleague of yours in entrepreneurship. I just want to let the listeners know, like, we kind of transferred into kind of surface level entrepreneurship to, hey, you know what if I kind of goof around and start with a blog, because you guys were always talking about that. But that kind of leads me to my next question. 12 years, man, like you just got out of a system. This month I'm talking a lot with a lot of students because everybody's like student voice, but I don't think people really listen to student voice all that much just yet, and I'm hoping to change that. So there's an academic side to Jamison, and there's also a life learning side to Jamison. Tell us like a little bit about reflecting on who you were in both of those entities over the last 12 years.
Yeah, so while I was in school, it was kind of just like I used to go to class, wake up in the morning, go straight 1 through 8 period, have a lunch, whatever, just like normal kids do. And that happened from, first grade through, 11th grade. It was just kind of like a system where like I just kept on having to do the same exact thing about topics that really just didn't prepare me for like my outside life. Like I would go to school, attend, do my work, see friends, hang out, do all my homework. But at the end of the day, it was like as soon as I left that class after 8th period, 2:22 or 3 o'clock in high school, it was just like, oh man, did it really help me do anything? I feel like the math classes, it was just stuff that they wanted to teach you, but stuff that didn't really prepare you for anything. Like I didn't need certain things that they taught me, and the same thing in English class or history class. It was more of like they forced something upon you to like push you to learn something instead of actually engaging you into something that you want to learn. I felt like half the things, over 75% of the things in, throughout the 12 years of my education were some things that I just didn't care to learn for. Half of the things I won't even learn, like use in my real life situations anyways. But uh, outside of school, like in school, I was kind of like didn't really like to talk to people, wasn't outgoing. But as soon as like high school hit, after school, in school, it was just I found my way to communicate better with people, and I found to be more outgoing than I was in previous years, just because it like the different environment that I was put in really helped me do that.
Well, yeah, let's open up that environment. So, how did that environment change? I mean, I know the answer to it, but I don't think our listeners knows. You have a very unique senior year, to be honest, and that's part of the
Yeah.
reason I wanted to chat with you today. Talk us through that different environment and how that kind of evolved.
Yeah, so freshman through junior year, I went to school, same as always, 8 o'clock, out at 3 o'clock. Took some classes I really liked, but as soon as senior year hit, it was like I enrolled into the workmanship program, which definitely opened my opportunities up. I was able to work more, get out of school earlier, and get all my necessary credits and classes, and take classes that I actually wanted to take. Um, Not like, I didn't take a math class senior year. I took, a classic modern mythology just because I thought it was cool. It was really intriguing to me, and I found like senior year was the opportunity that I wish I had all 4 years to choose the classes that I wanted to take and the classes that I thought would be beneficial for me. Alongside the lines of like, you need these classes and they'll prepare you for college if you're going down that route. But like I was always set like college bound from freshman year with my counselor to senior year. And she always had me on this thing where she wanted me to do certain things in order to like be good for college. And there were just things that like I didn't necessarily see that they would be good or that I would use them. And to this day, half of those classes I'm not using in college. And like I just felt like it was a waste of time for that.
You are going to college, which is
I am.
interesting because when we met, like kind of through the year, you're like, you know what, I'm out. I'm just busting out of high school, and that was it. You had a very different plan. Can you kind of walk us through, like, number one, where you're thinking of Indiana State, but what made that change happen? And I think a lot of educators and a lot of people want to understand that. You're a person who also, I think we agree that, college isn't the only route, but you saw something, you're like, let's go, like, this is something that I want to do. Talk about like that dynamic of a pivot that happened.
First semester of senior year, I was kind of just like, oh, I want to get out of school. I don't want to do anything. I never really had goals I set, but I knew I just hated school. I just dreaded going to it. The class, I took 2 English classes, and it was like, But then, like, I took my work program class with you, obviously, and you really kind of guided me towards of what I wanted to do, rather than having to have a focus line of, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that, and as soon as second semester hit, I had you for first period, second period, uh, third period,
All
and
day
fifth
long,
period.
man.
Yep, 4 out of my 5 periods a day. And having a teacher like you really impacted me to take my chances and do what I actually love to do. I never really saw myself going to college to be a commentator or to do something along the lines of like business and, broadcasting. But with your experience with broadcasting, you opened an opportunity to me to look forward to. And actually, it made me excited to actually go to college. Um, I haven't gone there yet, but all the classes that I've taken with you, they progressively made me more interested and build me up as a person and got me ready for what I wanted to do. And that's why I decided to go to college. It was just like the impact that one teacher had on me. Throughout like freshman and senior year, I didn't really have I had good teachers here and there, but none that really went out of their way to go explain life and actually introduce opportunities that weren't really on the table.
So this is something, I'm humbled, by the way, but this is something I think that's going to lead into the answer of the next question, right? Like, as somebody who could redesign your entire experience, or even just high school experience, because I'm mostly on secondary, but is there a way that you think that you can improve education and connect, math, science, English to your interests? Or what does that look like for Jamison at this point in your life? What would you do to change it?
I'm gonna sit on like high school situations because like 8th grade, it was okay. Like down below was whatever, but like high school, 9th grade through 12th grade, it was just like you get into a bigger school, you get blended in with kids from other school, you get different opportunities, different cultures, and I felt like even just taking a math class or math 1, math 2, math 3, English is set courses for you. My freshman year was just kind of designed for me. I picked one elective that basically my counselor told me that I needed this if I was going to go college bound, which was Spanish, and then all the rest classes were just like set. I didn't really have the opportunity, being welcomed into a new high school, starting my 4 years there. I wasn't able to choose the classes that I thought I wanted to as the juniors or seniors at that time. And I definitely feel like if you have teachers that would interact even just a little bit more and connect with you, not even just on a personal level, just more of like on a school level where they actually try to help you and try to open new opportunities, I feel like those classes wouldn't have been as bad. But it was just like, oh, we did a slideshow presentation, here's your work. And it was just like, well, how am I supposed to learn off a slideshow presentation when you explain it once and then you just expect me to remember it after my first time learning it? It was just kind of like a place where I didn't really feel as I learned as I could have, as much as I could have.
I'm gonna throw the pandemic in there, right? Like you were smack dab in the middle, and I don't know. Maybe they're gonna call you the pandemic generation. Who knows? Um, Talk about that. Like, what was that like as a student going through a pandemic where, the rules were changing all over the board? There was virtual learning in school, out of school, quarter of the people in the school. Yeah. Walk us through like your experiences with that and maybe something you took from that as a learner.
The pandemic hit end of sophomore year for me, in that March right there. We were supposed to be shut down, but then they shut us down fully. And then it continued my way through my beginning of the junior year. And then they offered us on-site or 50-50 learning chances. And then, but during that second semester of sophomore year, towards that end when COVID really hit, it was just, my GPA was really good. I loved school. I liked going, I liked seeing my friends. And then everything got shut down. And it was just like, started up here, and then just it was a trickle down effect with my grades, my attitude, my appearance on everything. I was just kind of felt like I was more of like sheltered, kind of. I never really got the opportunities to like do what I never got the opportunities to do what I wanted to do. So my grades went down, and then when they offered that beginning of junior year where you could go in class, I had to take that opportunity. I looked at myself and I was like, yeah, you can't be sitting at home on a computer anymore. I just got so lazy doing the homework. Now I know, but I was cheating on tests and I was still barely passing classes. And the thing was, it was like, if I'm going to go to school, I might as well make the best of it and actually learn from it. Even if I'm not going to learn, or if I'm not going to take everything into the real life situation and use it, it's just the fact of learning and understanding it. And so when I went back into school, my grades went back up. And then they drastically, opened up our school more so we can go more days. And even though everything wasn't the same, like lunchrooms and all that, but I mean, at least I was better learning on site than over a computer. That connection with the teachers and just seeing them in person, and just be putting in that setting of school like I was, kindergarten through 8th grade. That setting for me was always to learn. And, when you change that setting to, be sleeping in my bed, waking up at 8 o'clock and hopping on a Google Meet and going to bed, I mean, geez, what do you expect me to learn? I'm not going to learn nothing. So that's what kind of happened with me. And then they opened everything back up. And then I was given the opportunity to choose my classes and explore a little bit more of what I wanted to do. But it was like those first 3 years were just kind of like, you got what you got. And that was basically it.
Biggest takeaway from knowing yourself in the pandemic. So what did you learn from that moment?
What I learned during the pandemic was like, don't let things put you down so fast. Like as soon as that pandemic did, and they said that we were going to be off for 2 weeks, and then it turned out to be that rest of that year, I was just like, I was excited, mini break, whatever. And then boom, when they said they were shut down, I was just like, oh yeah, I just let it bring me down so bad, and really affect me. And I feel like no matter what the situation is, and I take this from that, is there's always a good outcome of it. Um, and that's all I really had to learn from. I just really, I really wish that I had that, the opportunity to, experience high school through all those years. But I mean, all of it was a learning experience, and I've taken all those like learning experiences, from this pandemic and pre-pandemic to be who I am today. And I felt like even if the pandemic didn't happen today, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'm kind of glad, all the things that I've learned and taken experiences from, and want to go ahead and put them in my real life situation to who they've made me today.
No, I appreciate that. And I do, and I know you've heard me say this before, but I really do think as people realize, maybe you didn't get exactly what previous generations have gotten. I think this pivot's going to make your generation extremely strong. I mean, I just do. And I've always believed in that. So let me round out the podcast here with one last question, and take your time having kids, but what do you want your kids' school to look like, right? What does that look like to you? What do you want them to look like, to experience in quote unquote schools and education?
Yeah, so with me just getting out of high school, I'd really want the setting to be more hands-on. I'd really appreciate like if the teachers could actually make a connection and push the kids, like not even my kid, but kids in the future generations to actually do what they want to do and not put them on a focused track of like, oh yeah, this is what you need to graduate. How about like, okay, this is what you need to graduate, but these are the classes if you want to take and you like them, or what kind of like area you're looking to go to. I was like really undecisive on what I wanted to do, but I feel like they had those classes for me, but they never pushed me towards like wanting to take those classes. I wanted to be a cop, but they never pushed me toward to take business, law, or anything along those lines. And I feel like as in coming into new high school, like say if my kids were coming into high school, I would want them to like get a general idea of what they would want to do and have that counselor or that somebody push them towards trying to figure it out. And if they don't like it, then a new set focus. A lot of these schools now, they're just like, oh yeah, that's what you need to graduate. But there's classes out there that could really impact you that I took senior year, and they really impacted me. And there's classes that can impact students even in their freshman year. So I feel like if there was more hands-on learning, maybe even a little bit of shorter days, I feel like having that span of like, 8 hours, 7 hours a day at school, 5 days a week, it's just like, it's a set schedule. It's kind of like work. And like a lot of people, sometimes a lot of people just go to work just to go to work. And it's just like, I want to go to school to learn. And that's why I want my kids to be. I don't want them to go, like, oh, I have to go to school. Like they get to go to school, like you say. Like they get to do that. They get to experience it. They get to learn. And I feel like, I hope that they change that so like they lure kids in to be who they are and take chances and learn from it.
I love that. I'm super humbled, and obviously people who don't know you or listen to the podcast, but
Yeah.
I do, and wise beyond your words there. Thank you so much for sharing. Indiana State next year is lucky to have you, and I can't wait to see what happens, and obviously we'll stay connected.
Absolutely.
But yeah, as you grow and continue, I can't wait to see where you go. Maybe a few tickets in there for old Hostrasser
Oh yeah, of
down
course.
the line. So, but I want to thank you so much for sharing your experiences. Especially coming, hot off the press, as we call it in journalism, right out of high school, and sharing this. And thanks for being here on Disrupt Education.
Yeah, no, thank you for the opportunity to spread my word and spread on what I would like to talk about. I really appreciate it.
All right, you're very welcome, and thank you all for listening. Till next time, we'll talk to you on Disrupt Education.